Welcome on behalf of McAllen Catholic Community and to the Max 16670. My name is Javier Rene Solis, and I'm here with Miss Oralia Cantu. Welcome. I haven't met you, and I'd like to know about you and your involvement with your school and what you'd like to share with our Catholic community. So who do you represent, and give us a little brief history about your school.
Okay. I'm with the Oratory Schools. They're part of the, and I need to say it correctly for our pre-sake, it's the Far Oratory of St. Philip Neri School System. And it is an educational institution and spiritually directed by the Far Oratory of St. Philip Neri of pontifical right, which means under the Pope.
Under the Pope.
Not diocesan.
Not diocesan.
Private, okay? It's a society of apostolic life of the Catholic Church, a community of Catholic lay leaders of the Oratory of St. Philip, along with their priests of the congregation of the Oratory, that's what they're called, the congregation, are responsible not only for the running and planning of the Far Oratory of St. Philip Neri school system, and for maintaining high academic and spiritual standards for which it is known. And I am one of those lay people.
Wow. So, well, congratulations.
I'm a founding member.
And when was that?
1983, we opened the doors. But of course, it took 2 years of planning of how we were going to open the doors because we had no money, no building, no money, no building, no teachers, nothing.
Wow.
But Father Leo, our spiritual director, pastor of St. Jude, challenged the women who he saw were active in parish life, but doing altar society, cleaning the linens, decorating. And he says, you can do much more than that for your community. Father Leo Francis Daniel. Leo Francis with a dash.
Okay.
So he challenged a person, an individual with her master's from Our Lady of the Lake, working at PSJ school system in the bilingual program.
Okay.
Another teacher, Elida Paris, and me, a graduate from Pan American, but with more skills in mothering, in homemaking.
Okay. What was your degree at?
In business.
In DTP.
Business with a Catholic school. I could not see how that was going to work.
Wow.
But so he called us to look into this.
Yeah.
And he said, Father, we're fine with our schools.
Yes.
We've been there. We've gone through the system. And he says, and you settled for standard education.
Standard education.
You can settle. You need to bring more of the higher standards for students. They can be challenged, and we need Catholic schools. Catholic schools had closed, many of them. Mission had closed. FAR had one when I was in middle school.
Okay.
By St. Margaret's.
Oh.
Edinburgh. I made my communion at St. Joseph.
St. Joseph.
And they had a school when I was 7, 8 years old, but we couldn't afford it.
They're still there. Sacred Heart was also in Edinburgh. And
Sacred Heart.
I only got to go to kinder there, and then they closed it, I think, a year after that.
That's the one I meant, Sacred Heart.
Sacred Heart.
Because that's where I made my first communion.
Right.
Because we were in Edinburgh and transported too far where I got my education.
My goodness, so you're really involved in the history and the founding of the Oratory School. That's beautiful. It
took us 2 or 3 years until we opened in 83. So it's been 40 years, going into our 41st.
Wow. Okay, so I'd like to ask you a few questions just so you can share a little bit about it. I think you already covered it, though, the mission and the vision of it, I guess, bringing higher academic standards, raising the bar,
bicultural.
Yeah. Which was important in the 60s and the 70s to get our more Spanish-dominated, culture into more English.
To know it. He says, you don't know your culture and you've come from Mexican roots, and it's full of culture.
Yeah.
Says the Americans have little culture, because Mexico's old,
Right.
goes back so far back.
And
So he
then,
wanted us to embrace that.
embrace that culturally, education-wise, and obviously bringing in the aspect of our Catholic faith. So I'd like to see if how do you all bring that in, the Catholic faith aspect into, I guess, the daily life of the student, the day, what's a regular day for the student? How do you all integrate the component of our faith?
Well, just as you started our session with the sign of the cross and prayer, is how our school starts. First thing, they come in, bell rings, and prayer. So all the classrooms are praying in unison. The Our Father, the Hail Mary, and the Glory Be.
Okay.
And then go maybe announcements and go on into your classwork.
Okay.
Middle of the day at 12 noon, there'll be people walking outside. If you've been at St. Jude's, we have beautiful gardens in Cuevita to St. Jude.
Yes, I've been there.
So a bell will ring, a sound will come, and the Angelus comes on
I knew.
with speakers outside and inside the school. So all of a sudden, as you're walking in the gardens, you're hearing the angel of the Lord declared unto Mary,
Oh, wow.
and the students are all praying. At noon, before lunch, it stops. That you
great.
stop to pray.
Stop to pray.
Yes.
It's not at the Angelus, which is a tradition in the church that's been for centuries and centuries. At dawn, I believe, at noon, and then in the evening. So I think people who don't know the faith, they'll hear the bells at 12, and they'll think, oh, how nice of the Catholic Church to remind us that it's noon. But in reality, it was the bells were ringing for the field workers to let's do the Angelus.
You've seen that painting where the field workers are standing.
That's where the tradition comes from.
Yes.
Yeah, and the people who are not of the faith, they think, oh, how nice of the Catholic Church to remind us that it's 12 to go eat. It's a little more than that.
Right.
So,
and then class goes on with whatever they're studying. There is Catholic teaching every day, just like catechism once a week in the parish churches and schools. We have it daily.
Okay.
And they do Divine Mercy, 2:30. They'll pray the Rosary.
At the Rosary.
Right.
Is that right?
And if they gather all in the hallway and do it in unison together.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
So, different times during the day.
Right.
There's a time for education. There's a time for study.
Right.
There's a time for prayer and everything. So, I guess you covered it with. It sounds like you've had experience. You've had experience with this yourself and maybe children.
Yes, in fact, the first year we opened, I was a teacher, volunteered.
Wow.
The directress was Yvonne Perez. She got to be paid. She was a teacher and directress. Another teacher that was educated in it, received her degree, was the other teacher. So we had Miss Perez doing Spanish of the class of literature, whatever. Of course, we were pre-K and kinder, but it was all Spanish because we're immersed in the language. The children come in and are immersed in Spanish with one teacher, teaching it all in Spanish, not introducing any English.
Okay.
They have to learn to understand, no time to explain. It's you just are immersed in it, and the more you do it, you learn it.
No Tex-Mex.
And children are sponges. They
are sponges.
Right?
Yeah, I'm a former educator, elementary and coach, and so that's the time to reach them as far as language in their primary years.
Which helps them learn more, even more languages, right? And so Miss Perez taught in English, Miss Paris, and I, having limited education preparation, teaching preparation, I taught the pre-K in math and science in English.
Oh, limited. Pre-K is a handful. They're a handful.
Right.
Yeah, I think.
And our children were there. My baby girl at 3, Mrs. Perez, 3-year-old also, and Miss Paris had a kinder and a pre-K.
That's right.
So they were, and then our friends brought in their children.
Wow.
So we started out with 15, thinking here we were going to have 30.
Yeah.
The doors were going to be breaking down with parents calling. And no, it took a few years.
A few years to get to that point and everything. So as far as achievements, I guess recently or academically or alumni that you've had.
Wonderful.
That have politicians, business people,
tell you the most,
artists.
I think the most valuable person that came out with, we have a priest who entered at 5th grade went through high school. At high school, he's already, as soon as he graduates, he's going to enter the oratory, live with the priest for a year to decide if that's really his calling.
What age was that?
He's 18.
He was 18 when he did that.
So he joins. The year goes by. He wants to be a priest. So now we have to fund his schooling. And that's St. Jude Parish and the oratory supporting his education.
Wow. So now he's a priest.
He's a priest at the age of, now he's 27, I believe. Sebastian. Father Sebastian. Young, sometimes smaller than the acolytes as far as, but wonderful priest, wonderful confessor. And he says, in school, I was so excited. I thought the uniform, I was going to detract from my liking school. He loved it. He says, I'd go home. I didn't want to take it off. We were going to Target. I wanted to show off my uniform. He loved, he was a conversation, and he loved talking to the children, counseling children.
Yeah.
As a young teenager and into high school. And he saw his calling developing.
That's a good sign, ma'am. That's a good sign when there's vocations that are growing. When there's a lack of vocations, that's not a good sign.
Right.
So that's a homegrown and everything. So I'd like to ask you, how could you, what is the process? What are the requirements? Are there scholarships? Is there financial aid?
Okay.
And
we have, the process is when someone wants to interview or apply or look at our school and see if it's a fit, right? They come in and there is a test. Again, we're teaching 2 languages. Classes in 2 languages.
Okay.
You're teaching science in Spanish. The concept is learned and then in English, but then you apply the concept with the activities, with the, experiments in Spanish. So you use both languages to teach this skill like science.
Right, okay.
So an exam is given to see where they are performing, grades from their previous school, recommendations. What is the other one? I can't think. Yeah. Recommendations from people, maybe parishioners that they know, or
recommend them as a standing order,
in good standing order, and as far as behavior also.
Right. So can someone who's not Catholic go there?
Yes,
student?
We've had Jewish.
Oh, it's great.
Non-Catholic.
So there's financial aid, scholarships.
We have more limited now because we're a smaller school. It's elementary, but they can apply. Let's say, we want to come, but we're short on funds. There's a program online where they go in. We help them go in and give their information, financial information, what they do, what their work employment is, and they can figure out what they can be able to give to their tuition, be able to pay tuition, and how much, and then see if we can get scholarships for them.
Wow, well, that's very generous.
From private benefactors, from Kennedy, which comes out of Corpus, right? Kennedy. And before we'd have more, we had Scanlon, but it was mainly for high school.
Okay.
And so now we're only up to 8th grade.
Right. So what would you tell someone? Do you want them to join, come and enroll at this school? Do you want them, their children? What would you tell a parent right now?
I read that, and I said, what would I say? And our mission is so clear.
We got
what we want to produce.
So let us know. What would that be?
So that mission,
what would you tell the parent?
Yes. The mission of the FAR schools is to promote the formation of Christian character, Catholic lay leadership, Christian fellowship, and community service by integrating the gospel message with a liberal arts educational program in the spirit of the joy of St. Philip Neri.
How beautiful.
So you want a person like that? I would.
Yes, absolutely.
Child to be one that way.
Thank you so much.
In that way.
It's been a pleasure meeting you, and we need to continue talking and help your school get more enrollment and more faith and more impact in our community. There's a lot of people who don't know this and who could be good candidates for your school. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you
so much for
joining
us.
You made me as comfortable as I can be before the camera.
That's the goal.
I hope people will call us. The principal, the office is open at 781-3056 for information.
You want to say the number again?
956-781-3056.
Fantastic.
And the directors will be the one to talk to them personally.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
God
you.
bless you.
God bless
Thank you.
too.